The glass didn't just break it, announced me 1 second. I'm a shadow in a black dress the next. I'm a headline smeared across white marble with champagne in my hair and a bright sting in my palm. And every face turns like I crashed their private planet. The woman in emerald tilts her chin and says careful and cruel that I ruined a dress worth more than my life. The room chuckles the way rich rooms do. Polite, practiced like meanness is a flavor to be savored. Mrs. Lang, the estate manager, smooths her name badge as if that gives her power and fires me on the spot. And at the top of the staircase is Brooks Whitaker, the man whose name is on the hospital near my house, who sees everything and says nothing. And yeah, that happened. I ride the late bus with glass cuts and sticky hair. I walk into our little apartment that smells like lemon cleaner and laundry. And I tell my mom the story in a voice that comes out rough. Emerald said, "Pathetic," the crowd laughed. The man with the money looked and didn't move, and my mom, who has a tired heart and those soft hands that always find mine, presses a warm cloth into my fingers and says, "I'm not my worst moment." But rent doesn't care about wisdom and pharmacy. Counters don't accept pep talks, you know what I mean. The next morning, Seaside Medical calls and tells me our balance is cleared and 6 months of meds are prepaid. I laugh because it sounds like a prank, and then I cry because it isn't. And the caller says, "Anonymous donor," like that's a normal phrase for people like us. Then our landlord knocks and says someone covered 3 months and even paid the late fees. He pretended not to see envelopes show up with grocery cards and a typed line that lands in my chest like a stone. "You deserve good things," and I keep touching that sentence like it might smudge. I grab a shift at the Bluefinch Coffee on Harbor Street, where the bell on the door sticks and the pastry case fogs up, and old fishermen argue kindly with teenagers about the best donut. And I tell myself it's small, but it's honest and it's mine. And then one rainy Tuesday, he walks in dressed down in a baseball cap and a jacket that whispers expensive, and even without a staircase, I know the profile. I ring him up like he's anybody and ask for a name for the cup, and he says Brooks like he's testing me. I carry the coffee around the bar and ask him straight. "Was it you?" He doesn't dodge, he nods and says he should have spoken and didn't. So he did something after, and I say that night didn't just cost me a job, it cost me believing anyone up there could see me. And something in his face softens, like my words found the place. He doesn't show people, then he asks for dinner. No strings, no performance. Just two actual people talking like the world isn't watching. I give him ground rules because I grew up learning the price of favors. I don't owe you for my mom's bills. I won't be a secret or a PR project if this is guilt. Take it to therapy, not to dinner. And he exhales and says, "Deal." Really good boundaries, by the way, and we eat at a dockside diner where the waitress calls me honey, and the vinyl seats grab my knees. He talks about losing both parents too young and inheriting a company before he'd figured out how to iron. I talk about my brother Micah and my sister Zoe and my mom's night shifts and how poverty is a full-time job. He calls pressure a person who shows up uninvited and touches everything. I call rent a god. And it's easy in a way. I didn't expect the kind of easy that makes you suspicious and then grateful. Outside my building, he stops a respectful 3 steps from the door and warns me about the circus his grandmother is running, a string of teas and galas where women with better cheekbones than I will ever have practice being photographed. Next to him, I ask how many, and he shrugs, dozens. Some wonderful, some brands with pulse, and I laugh. Because if we can't joke about it now, we'll never survive it later. Then he says, I'm the only person who spoke to him like a person this year. And I put that sentence somewhere safe. The tabloids find a reflection of us in a window and christen me Cinderella for clicks. The competition keeps spinning with gowns and orchids and quiet power trades, and in the middle of it, he invites me to a fundraiser for the pediatric wing at Seaside Black Tie. Soft lights arrangements that cost what my street makes in a month. I try a thrifted dress that wants to help but can't, and that afternoon, a garment bag arrives from his chief of staff, Ava, with a card that says, "Loan, not gift, return after," and I cry because it fits, and because she read my mind. Then at the gala, Lydia Beaumont, emerald woman turned crimson, glides over and purrs that I'm a sweet outreach story, and I feel the old heat rise, but I answer calm. "We've met, I was the maid you called pathetic." She blinks and tilts for the cameras and murmurs that staff can be clumsy, and Brooks says security footage says otherwise, and reminds her she saw it too, that she chose cruelty because it played better in that room, and heads turn, and I whisper. I don't know the steps when he draws me into a waltz, and he says, "Follow me, we'll get it wrong together and nobody dies." And for a few minutes, the only thing in the world is his hand steady at my back, and my breath remembering how to be regular under bright chandeliers. On a balcony threaded with fairy lights, I tell him the truth. I'm not supposed to admit I like you, but I won't be swallowed by this, and he says, "Then we build a life where you don't disappear, and we build it slow, and his slow looks like respect." He offers work, not behind doors, not in shadows, but at a desk with daylight. Ava needs a second brain calendar's vendors saying no nicely and firmly. Before lunch we meet, she skips gossip and asks about spreadsheets. We click. I say yes, I start night classes at North Coast Community College because that child I used to be still wants a teacher who recognizes scared kids and hungry ones and the ones pretending to be angry because it's cheaper than being hurt, and the montage is real life. Me learning flights and phone trees and catching small disasters before they grow teeth, my mom setting meds out in a little row like safety. Micah fixing a neighbor's bike. Zoe peering through a library microscope with joy so bright you could power the city with it. Us keeping Tuesdays at the Blue Finch, because routine is a way of telling your nervous system you're not in danger. The twist hits in a pretty envelope. Christmas at the Whitaker house looks like a movie set. My family is there because Ruth invited them herself. And a courier delivers a cashier's check for $250,000 and a note written in expensive ink that says, "I should step back from Brooks' generous solution, people are watching, call." If I accept, my ears go hot and my hands go steady, and I take it to Brooks and Ruth, his calm cracks like lightning behind a cloud, and Ruth goes very still in that old money way. That means someone is about to learn a lesson. She makes 2 calls and returns with a tidy answer. Lydia's father did it. He thought he was protecting the brand, and I ask for the phone because I need my own voice on the record. Mr. Beaumont picks up, expecting Ruth, I tell him. He tried to buy my silence with a number that could change us, and all he delivered was an insult that fits in one envelope. He says he was sparing everyone unpleasantness, and I say no. You were sparing yourself a world in which your daughter can't outshine a woman who only has kindness to wear. You don't know me, but you set my price. I'm returning your check. Do something unfashionable and stay out of our lives. And I hang up and shake because I'm human. Then I wander the library at 2 a.m., and Ruth finds me and sits like a general-turned-grandmother and tells me she married in from a South Boston row house and solved disapproval like a puzzle for 60 years. And when I ask if this can work, she says it will be loud, and people will call it names to feel safe. But if we love each other more than we hate being misunderstood, we'll be fine. And she squeezes my hand and says, "Courage grown." In the dark is a different metal that line settles me like warm tea. Morning is cold and clean. Brooks takes me outside where our breath looks like confessions and kneels in the snow, not to propose, he says, but to offer a promise ring that belong to Ruth for when I'm ready. And I realize I don't need a year to know I'm done letting strangers name me. I tell him I love him, and I want a life we build on purpose, and I'm ready now. He slides the ring on, and it fits like it was waiting its whole life for my hand. That night, he steps to a mic in the same ballroom, where I bled, and announces the Whitaker Circle is over. He found what he was supposed to be looking for, where no one told him to look. He's choosing me, gasps, ripple and smiles bloom, and a few eyes stay sharp. Lydia walks up later in navy with no purr and apologizes in the gravelly way. Real apologies sound, I could humiliate her. It would be delicious. It would also be cheap. I accept. Don't waste it, and when Ruth and Brooks unveil the Naomi Carter Scholarship and the Harbor Kids Initiative, 10 students now and after school, centers opening, where politicians pose and then forget. I cry in a tasteful room and don't apologize because this is what love is supposed to do. Make new things possible. It stays messy. A blogger posts that girls like me trick good men into philanthropy with sad stories. I almost ignore it, and then I don't. I write that I didn't trick anybody. A decent man remembered. He could be decent out loud. That's not a fairy tale, that's an option. And I close the app and go back to work because I can't control how people talk about me. But I can control what I build. I pour coffee on Tuesday at the Finch, and organize flights on Wednesday, and study Piaget on Thursday, and kiss my mother's cheek on Friday. And every morning I choose what side I'm on, in the quiet war between cynicism and kindness. And most days I choose right. If you're still here, tell me in the comments, where's the line between help and control when money can heal and money can hurt? If a family tries to buy someone off, is that just gross or should it be illegal? Have you met class prejudice with a smile sharp enough to cut? Who was wrong in that ballroom and who kept being wrong after drop your city, drop your story, argue with me if you need to, and if you believe kindness is the strongest currency we've got? Share this with someone who's been told they don't deserve good things because maybe the first miracle is hearing that they do.